Hello, and welcome to today's Explainer. Right, if you're someone who absolutely loves to communicate clearly, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we've got a bit of a mission. We are going to isolate, examine, and ruthlessly eliminate a remarkably weak little word that completely plagues our everyday communication. It muddies up our emails, our essays, our stories, the whole shebang. And the culprit? It's the word very.
Okay, let's dive straight into this. I was very tired after the very long meeting. I mean, just read that aloud in your head for a second. Do you notice how terribly clunky that feels? By repeating that exact same intensifier, the sentence essentially drains its own power. You've got two words doing the job of one, and frankly, neither of them is doing it particularly well.
So, what's actually going on here? Why exactly does a sentence like that just fall flat? Well, the truth is, very is just an inexact, lazy placeholder. Instead of reaching for a precise, colorful adjective, we just sort of slap very in there as a default intensifier. Professional writers and editors constantly warn us that very is merely a utility word. Sure, it's functional, but it's entirely forgettable. It just clutters our writing, making it wordy and vague when it absolutely should be sharp and impactful.
Section 1. The Road to Hell, a History. Now, the etymology of very is actually brilliant. If we trace it back, it has quite noble origins. It stems from the Proto-Indo-European root veros, moving into Classical Latin as verus, and then into Old French as verae, which crucially meant true. You can actually see it pop up in English literature around the year 1570. Originally, it genuinely meant truly or genuinely, but over time, it aggressively pushed out a whole host of traditional Germanic words and prefixes to become our standard, everyday intensifier. It basically went from meaning true to just acting like a generic volume dial.
Section 2. The agitation, what the masters say.
Right, so the legendary William Zinsser, in his defining book on writing well, actually refers to words like very as pure clutter. He puts it like this: every adverb that carries the same meaning that's already in the verb weakens the strength of a sentence. Zinsser's whole argument was that good writing is stripped-down writing. If your word isn't doing entirely new, useful work, it's just actively detracting from your message. Simple as that.
And this perfectly tees up our next point, delivered as an absolute mic drop by the master of horror himself, Stephen King. He famously declared, "I believe the road to hell is paved with adverbs." King compares adverbs, particularly very, to dandelions. If you have one on your lawn, well, it might look quite pretty. But if you don't uproot it, you'll find 5 the next day and 50 the day after that. Before you know it, they've completely overtaken your prose.
Section 3. Upgrading your vocabulary.
Now, what's really interesting about this first pairing is the distinct shift in imagery. When you write very angry, it's a bit abstract, isn't it? But upgrade that to furious, livid, or incensed, and suddenly you're painting a picture of an explosive, highly visible state of rage. It completely changes the temperature of your sentence.
Let's look at another one. Very tired versus exhausted. Very tired is incredibly vague. I mean, it could just mean you need a quick cup of tea and a biscuit. But swapping it for exhausted suggests a total depletion of energy. It tells us that your physical and spiritual stamina have been entirely drained. It's just far more precise and packing a much bigger punch.
Example 3, very cold versus freezing. Saying something is very cold is literally just plotting a point on a rather bland temperature scale. But when you use freezing, frigid, or arctic, you're replacing a boring measurement with visceral, ice-based environmental imagery. Your reader can practically feel the chill in their bones.
Moving on to our fourth example, very beautiful versus exquisite. Look, beautiful is a lovely word. It really is. But pairing it with very somehow makes it feel a bit cheap, a bit less special. Exquisite, on the other hand, conveys this delicate, highly crafted perfection. It goes light years beyond that vague pairing of two ordinary words and communicates absolute visual brilliance.
And our final example here, very bad versus atrocious. Bad tells us absolutely nothing about the scale of the failure. It's just a flat tire. But atrocious or abysmal, that communicates the exact terrifying depth of something terrible. It's a single, punchy word that leaves literally zero room for misinterpretation.
To really lock this in, let's look at a quick linguistic breakdown across some different thematic domains. Look at how these single words drastically ramp up the impact. For emotions, very sad becomes the deep, heavy grief of despondent.
For physical sensation, very hungry turns into the almost predatory desperation of ravenous. And for size, very big transforms into the mythological scale of colossal. By choosing just one precise word instead of two weak ones, you instantly elevate the emotional weight of whatever you're writing.
Section 4. Show, don't tell.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that to truly master your writing, we need to look to the brilliant playwright Anton Chekhov and his famous concept of show, don't tell. He once advised, "Don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass." What a line. This is all about translating flat exposition into rich sensory details so your reader actually experiences the scene right there in real time. Let's put that to the test with a direct comparison. Telling gives us this utterly flat summary. Michael was terribly afraid of the dark. Okay, we have the facts, but we don't feel a single thing. Now look at showing. He huddled under the covers, gripped the sheets, and held his breath as the wind brushed past the curtain. Can you feel the difference there? We didn't even use the word afraid, yet those immersive, tactile details pull us directly into Michael's real-time terror. And frankly, that is the magic of showing.
Section 5. When very actually works.
Now, before you go meticulously scrubbing every single very from your hard drive, let's just take a breath. The goal here is conscious usage, and very absolutely still has its place. First off, in natural dialogue, people speak using very all the time, so characters in a story should too if you want them to sound authentic. Second, in idiomatic expressions, saying very well or my very own is entirely natural. Third, sometimes rhythmic emphasis just matters more than clinical precision, and repeating very can be a cracking dramatic tool. And finally, let's face it, some adjectives simply don't have a single word alternative. The key takeaway is just making sure you are actively choosing to use it rather than just defaulting to it out of habit.
So, we've traced its history, we've heard from the masters, upgraded our vocabulary, and learned to show rather than tell. You've now got the tools to ensure every single word you write pulls its own weight. I'll leave you with this final, slightly provocative challenge. Go check your outbox, look at the last essay you wrote, or pull up your current manuscript. What is the first very you are going to delete today? Get in there, uproot those dandelions, and let your true vocabulary shine. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing!